Okay, today we're making tamales, and what we have here is a baking dish with a little bit of water in the bottom, about a 1.5 pound pork roast, a chili, a clove of garlic, and an onion. What we're going to do is cut up the onion, the chili, and the clove of garlic, put it in the pan with the pork roast, cover that with sea salt or kosher salt and cracked pepper, and then cover that up and bake it in the oven until it's tender and falling apart, maybe about 2 to 3 hours. Okay, now it's just about ready to go into the oven. We're going to put it in at 350 degrees for about 2 to 3 hours until it's nice and soft and tender and it's falling apart. Okay, now as you can see, the pork is shredded. That's what we want to do first. And when you're shredding it, if you have gloves and you want to handle it, that's fine if you have asbestos fingers. But for normal humans, you can use forks and pull it apart, okay? If you have asbestos fingers, have fun, you play with your food as you usually do. And that's only a privilege. All right, see how nice and shredded that is? I'm one of those aliens who likes to play with her food, so here we go. The flavor is exquisite. It's going to taste so good in our tamales tomorrow. Okay, I'll show you how we're going to put that together tomorrow. Have a great day, and tomorrow we will eat tamales. Okay, it's day 2 of making tamales, and what you want to do right now is get some of your corn husks, okay, and soak those for 30 minutes in a bowl of water so that they're nice and soft when you're ready to use them. And while these are soaking, we're going to prepare the meat filling and the masa. And what we're going to do to prepare the masa is start with our corn flour here. Okay, and I'll give you all the ingredients. We're going to take 4 cups of this. We're going to take 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 3 teaspoons of kosher salt, 4 cups of broth from the meat or filling. All right, now we have that 2 cups from the other day when we made the roast. We'll add 2 cups to that. And then we're going to take 1 1/3 cups of vegetable shortening or lard, whatever you prefer. I prefer the vegetable shortening. The lard might help it to stick together better, so I'm going to try that this time. I've used the vegetable shortening last time, but I'm going to give it a shot with the lard this time. Okay, so we'll be making the masa. We'll set that aside in a bowl, and then we'll put the pork filling together. All right, we have the 4 cups of masa. I'm going to add that to the bowl. I've got the baking powder and the kosher salt in here. And I'm just going to get a wire whisk and whisk that together first. Now the masa is already pre-prepared cornmeal flour, and it is finer than cornmeal. If you don't have masa, I suppose you could use cornmeal, but make sure it's very fine. All right, now we put in our broth. A little at a time, I'm going to stir that up. That's the leftover broth from the roast and water. And remember, when you take that broth from the meat, don't forget to strain it. You don't want the lumps of fat or meat or anything else in there. You just want a nice smooth broth. And mix that up. Get that out of there. And yes, I'm going to play with my food again. My hands are clean. I would not recommend using the vinyl gloves for this, because what's going to happen is the masa will stick to the gloves and you'll just have a big gooey mess on your hands, literally. Okay. Once you get that pretty well mixed in, let's get our fingers in there. This is not the kind of thing to do if you're just having a nice manicure done, so you might want to use your feet, unless you had a pedi too. Just kidding. All right, so we got that. Now I'm going to throw in the lard. I'm going to use a knife to scrape that out. This is the vegetable lard. And I don't want meat lard. I want vegetable lard in this, not meat. Okay. save the fattened pig for another day, or the fattened calf. It's easier to take it out with a knife. As you can see, we get most of it out, which is fine. Okay, now it's time to really get down and dirty. We're going to slop this together. Just don't be afraid to get yourself all gooey, because you will wash your hands. If you don't have somebody to turn on the faucet for you, I would suggest getting a nice dish of warm water set aside, maybe a dish pan, fill it with soapy water, and have it ready for yourself. Okay? But the hands can make it come together so much nicer. Okay, and this is going to be our tamale shell. Okay, don't forget we have those husks soaking. We get our masa all mixed up. Then we can put our meat together, meat filling. And I did use some of that filling yesterday for some nice Cuban pork sandwiches, which you can do too. You just take some of that pork, heat it up in the microwave or under the broiler, slice a ham, slice of Swiss, some pickle relish and mustard, and then toast your buns, and you got a nice Cuban sandwich. Okay, for the most part you want to scrape that off. It's not horrible to deal with, and we're going to use a spoon later to put the masa into the corn husks. One other thing you'll need is a steamer. If you don't have a steamer, I'm going to show you how to concoct one, because I don't have one either, but that's part of the trick of the trade. You have to learn how to adapt. As the Marine Corps says, improvise, adapt, overcome. And that's what we're going to do. Alright, so there's your masa. That's what it should look like. Set that aside and get ready to do the pork filling.